Welcome back, everyone, to my 40k versus Starcraft 2 series. I would also like to say thank you to the community who have actually made this a consistent series, if nothing else. And a special thank you to James Pagwhip for this week's suggestion of Protoss versus Necron. Now, I am going to go into this with a little bit of a disclaimer. I went into this one a little bit confident that I knew how this would turn out. And after looking up my research, because I do some basic research, mostly just on the unit types and all that, yes, I was absolutely 100% correct. But before we get into why I was correct, let's just do a quick rundown of some basic unit equivalents here. And I'm going to start off with actually one of my favorite ones, the Protoss Zealot, who we all know and love as the main unit for the Protoss infantry, I guess you could say. And they are, beyond a shadow of a doubt, in StarCraft 2, the strongest of the basic infantry between them, the Marine, and the Zergling. They are, pound for pound, the strongest. They are also the most expensive to make. But how does that translate into something like this? Well, it translates in the sense that, okay, they're tough, and they can dish out some damage. But here's where Zealot's weaknesses are. They are weak against... How do I put this? They're weak against anti-infantry units, or at least anti-armor units as well. And the list given in the on the wiki page is Hellbats, Hellions, Roaches, Colossi, and Banelings. Now, normally this would just be like anti-armor, except Hellbats aren't anti-armor. They are anti-infantry. They, to my knowledge, they don't do extra damage against armor, if I'm not mistaken. So anything that does armor damage, by the way, interesting little tidbit here. That means that, wait a minute. Oh, okay. So in the game, their attack, or their damage, I should say, is 16. However, because they quote-unquote dual-wield their side blades, it's not really 16 by game calculations. It's 2 8 damage attacks. So they do realistically less damage than they do, but they don't. So they do the right amount of damage, it's just not per attack, because they have 2 small attacks. Now, that said, how does this compete against, say, oh, I don't know, what would be a good Necron equivalent to this? Oh, yeah, the flayed ones. Yeah, flayed ones. So, Necrons, as a whole, are known to be very, very hard to get through their armor. So I think the fact that the side blade attack would have its issues. I think it would be, they would be honestly a more armored form of Zealot. So if you look at one Zealot versus another Zealot and they kind of even out, by my figuring, which does not mean this is true, if a Necron is just more armored than a normal Zealot, then the Necron is already starting to win out just because of armor. Now, let's talk about the other two important things in this matchup. Their damage. Not saying that Zealot armor isn't effective, because it absolutely is. I would put it about on par with Astartes armor. So what does that mean for a Necron? Would they even, for a flayed one at least, would they even be able to get it? Yes! Yes, they would. They can tear through Astartes armor and some vehicles. So, would the Necron have issues getting through the Zealot's armor? No. Would the Zealot have issues getting through the Necron's armor? Unknown, but I give it a high possibility. Well, not necessarily unknown. It's more of best... Well, it is unknown, I guess. It's more of best guess is that they would have some issues and some resistance. The Necron almost, I could guarantee, wouldn't. Now, here comes the other factor. How are Protoss going to react when they see Necrons with claws walking up with a brand new blue trench coat? I think morale is going to be a key factor in Protoss versus Necrons. Just because flayed ones skin their enemies and wear them. Now, when we start to get into... Oh, let's see. You know what? Actually, I'm going to do this. I promised myself I wouldn't, but I'm going to. I am going to use the Colossus, because it's probably one of the biggest things that, one of the biggest land units that the Protoss have. And, so, how would I, what would I pair up the, Colossus against? Well, that's actually an easier question I thought answered than before. The Tombstalker. Yeah. It's the equivalent of a small battle titan. Yeah. Yeah. How do I think a Colossus would do even against the smaller titans? I think Colossus would be absolutely boned. Against a Tombstalker, I think it's actually worse. So imagine taking a Thresher Maw, making it almost unkillable, which they already practically fucking are, and making it made out of metal. And giving it a really, really piss poor temper, which again they already kind of have. So, yeah, I don't see realistically from small unit to huge unit anything that the Protoss are going to be able to defend against. Now, here's where I think their true problem lies. Other than the fact that they're, quite frankly, just almost completely outmatched. In order to destroy a Necron, you have got to kill them totally and quickly. They warp away and either heal or get rebuilt. One of the two. Now, to be fair, do I think it's possible for some of the Protoss weapons to do this? Probably. One of the ones that I was actually looking at was the Dragoon's Cannon. I'm starting to actually question this, because for anyone who has not played the original Starcraft, there's actually a scene where the Dragoon Cannon disintegrates a human. And I was like, okay, that could be equivalent. And I remembered, oh no, Necron's not equivalent at all. So, putting more thought into that, I would probably rule out the Dragoon, but some of their spacecraft would probably be able to one-shot disintegrate Necron. And that said, it would have to be something they could do consistently. So here's where my problem comes in. Would Zealots be able to one-shot Flayed Ones? No. Would they be able to one-shot Necron Warriors? No. And I think this is where the problem is going to come in, is because overall, they are not going to be able to put down Necrons. Necrons, however, are going to absolutely be able to put down Protoss. So it's just, really, this is probably, if not the most one-sided fight I've looked at for 40k versus Starcraft. It is probably close, and the only other one I could think of that could compete with it would be Imperium versus Terran Dominion. But that's kind of my thoughts. So due to their overwhelming endurance, power, and just outright inability to be morally broken, or to have their morale broken, I guess I should say, the Necrons are going to win this one just hands down. And now to go back to what I was saying at the beginning, that's kind of what I figured. I didn't know much about the Necrons, but I knew they were tough to put down at least. So I figured the Protoss would have their issues with them. But I honestly didn't think it would be quite as severe as it ended up being. And also keep in mind, I just literally talked about Necron Warriors, Flayed Ones, and the Tombstalkers. So I haven't even gone into Destroyer Lords, Necron Lords, anything like that, or even just basic destroyers. You know, I haven't gone into anything else. Just based off those 3 units alone, I think the Necrons would be able to pull it off. You know, and it's one of those things where if I can see a case of even some of a variation of units, but a small variation of units of one faction just completely curb stomping an entire faction, then what's going to happen when the rest of the entire faction gets involved? It's just, there's no way I could see the Protoss winning. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. Again, thank you to James Pagwit for suggesting this. This was actually kind of a fun one to research. I learned some new stuff that I did not think I would learn about Necrons, and Necrons scare the shit out of me now. So, yeah, again, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for making it this far. And I just wanted to say a special thank you to my patrons up in this corner who have been supporting my channel for a pretty long time, for most of them. They are the ones who, without them and without the people on my Discord, link in the description, I would never have made it this far with my YouTube channel. So a very special thank you to them. Also, I have 2 videos. I believe the top one is the one that's recommended per viewer on my channel, and then the one in the bottom is the most recent upload. So give those a check. Let me know what you think on them. But the most important thing of all, I know we're all going through hard times. Just try and be there for one another. Try and lift each other up. That's one of the biggest things I try to make on my Discord, where we're all one big, not necessarily community, but family. And when someone just needs someone just to listen to, just be there for them. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you all have a very wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!